Alright everyone, we have to start off today talking about the Hunter Biden scandal that's blowing up actually a second time, and the shenanigans are profuse. But first, if you're watching this video on YouTube, take a look at the pinned comment or the links in the description, and you can find 4 other worthy sites that I record to. Rumble, BitChute, Odyssey, and Dailymotion. If you prefer not to use them, I ask that you please share this video out. I hate having to do this every single day. It's the only way the channel is going to grow, though, because I'm currently shadow banned. I've had, at this point, several hundred reports of people being unsubscribed from my channel. I've had people saying that they can't find my new uploads. Sometimes they can only find uploads that are a week old or more. If you log out, you can't even find my channel if you search the username verbatim. So I'm clearly being suppressed. This is probably part of YouTube's continued efforts, which they're openly bragging about now to drive all political and current events traffic to MSM sources. So they're basically at war with their own content creators, which is like 99.9% of the site. But we'll get past that and just talk about the news, because I'm not going to be silenced. They'll have to ban me to kick me off the platform, and at this point I don't even think it'd matter. We got to talk about Hunter Biden, because we were told when the initial leaks from Hunter Biden's laptop came about during the election. October's surprise, of course, the MSM buried its head in the sand and basically said, well, it's a non-story, it doesn't involve Joe Biden. And when there were allegations of fiscal impropriety that did extend beyond Hunter Biden, they said, nope, there's no evidence of that. And then they didn't do their job, which was actually dig for the evidence. But we're now finding out something even more damning, which is that details of the Hunter Biden probe that were disclosed were hidden by William Barr until after the election, explicitly. So William Barr decided to essentially hide pertinent information from the American people during the election in order to throw the election to Joe Biden. That appears to be what William Barr's particular designs were, because I can't think of any particular reason that information wouldn't have been disclosed, which is the probe that we knew about. We knew that there was a probe into money problems that Biden had. We didn't know that it went further than basically the most surface level that most people didn't even care about. Most people thought it was more entertaining to see pictures of Hunter Biden smoking crack. And while that's very interesting, and it's kind of an interpersonal scandal in the Biden family, it doesn't really have any bearing on politics. We're now finding out, though, that he's being probed for considerably more fiscal dealings than initially believed, and we're finding out the Attorney General of the United States decided not to bother disclosing this until after the election for political reasons. Now, I know what the counter will be by Barr's people, Biden fans that are happy that the election went the way it did. They'll say, well, it would have prejudiced people in the election if they had known. Yes, if you have the truth, it might prejudice you towards voting or acting politically on the basis of understanding that truth. Unless you pathologically distrust the American people to make reasonable decisions, you would want them to have that information. If your candidate can only win in part, or at least this was, I guess, the surmising of Barr in order to help him, if your candidate is benefiting from people being visibly misled on the aspects of a potential major money laundering and fraud case involving China, one that now is threatening to swallow up Swalwell, by the way, because apparently he might have been boffing a Chinese spy at some point, and that story is even more insane. I would think that the American people, or any group of rational people who intend to vote for an idea or a person, should know such pertinent information. But we've got a bunch of lemmings in society, a bunch of people who, as long as the outcome is what they've been predestined to like based on what the MSM says, they don't care if they're lied to openly. You were lied to by the Attorney General of the United States. It's a lie by omission. The pertinent details in the investigations into Hunter Biden's dealings were hidden. In fact, they were openly lied about. The MSM lied to the American people by not doing its job. They should have pressed Barr and all of these others for more answers, but instead they didn't do journalism. Not one single MSM source, not one single legacy media source, including Fox, pressed the issue to any considerable length. Fox pressed it a little bit, but they would always pull the punch and say, well, but ultimately we got to understand Hunter Biden and Joe Biden are the same person. Nobody said that they were. But if you've got the possibility of money that was wrapped up, allegedly, again, including Joe Biden, not Hunter, but Joe himself, and you have the possibility that someone was being influenced by Chinese agents, or there was money laundering going on or something like that. Dude, Paul Manafort will be in a cell for the rest of his life unless Trump pardons him based on money laundering that happened in 2006 and had nothing to do with the political arena in such a way that it could have possibly affected the president. And he went to jail. People cheered, and they say, well, this is evidence of such massive scandals involving Trump, even though, again, it was from 2006, 10 years before the election. So what does this say about Beijing Biden? When his son, again, link in the description, archived of course, is involved with these dealings. And what does it say about the fact that the Attorney General hid that fact, and appears to have hidden details even from Trump? I wonder why that happened. Now you can say, well, that's because he would have used it as election fodder. So what? It's the truth, isn't it? So in other words, you've got a deep state cabal of entrenched individuals within the judiciary, the FBI, Intel, the military. So these people have started to openly lie to the American people in order to influence elections, and that's not a problem. That's okay to people. They have no problem with the fact that Intel is openly lying by omission to the American people in order to affect the political system. That's sort of like, you have to be a total lemming to think that that's okay, on the same order that you have to think that it's okay for billionaires that take platform protections extended by Congress years ago and ignore those, by the way, completely, and then editorialize political content on sites like Twitter and YouTube. You're basically telling billionaires and warmongers and entrenched like sleazy corporate lawyers and shit like that they can lie to you, and not only do you tolerate it, not only do you not like protest or anything, you actually applaud it. That's called being a sheep. I hate to use the tired, jaded 2000s term of the Bush era, but you're sheeple at that point if you believe that that's okay. We were lied to by the Intel community, which basically was assuring us through omission that there was nothing particularly wrong with the situation. Now, those of us that are less medicated and more cerebral probably already understood that, but my goodness, what a goddamn great bombshell of a story dropping in the election this would have been if the journalists and the MSM had done their job. Wouldn't it have been so great if they had actually investigated the claims instead of poo-pooing them? Well, it looks like all the claims were true. I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if at some point in the future we find out that it extended to a level considerably higher than Hunter Biden. I would not be surprised if the big guy that was spoken of, that the journalists, again, so-called, never queried as to who that was, except to say that Giuliani is a hack and a conspiracy theorist. I wouldn't be that surprised to find out that it is indeed Beijing Joe himself. I wouldn't be surprised. So yeah, thanks to Williambarr for basically, here's the odd part. Basically, he conformed in his private behavior doing this. This is partially about Williambarr being corrupt, and Trump should let him go immediately. This is extra interesting because it conforms to exactly the kind of behavior that like the America Firsters believed he would conform to, at least behind closed doors. In public he's like, oh, Trump's okay, it's appointed by him, and in private he's actually like trying to destroy him, like behind the scenes for the deep state. How much did Williambarr maybe get paid, and who was paying him is what I want to know. Need a lot of good caffeine today. Yeah, so the Hunter Biden story's back in the news, but you can expect the MSM to drop it again and say, well, it's nothing. Okay, we know Hunter Biden has his problems. It's like when Tucker Carlson there was giving him a pass, say, well, I knew Hunter, I lived like fucking somehow lived next door to him at one point. And yeah, we knew he had his problems. You know, we knew he was dicking teenagers and smoking crack and stuff, but we thought he had buried those demons in his past. I'm sad to say that he didn't. And we can maybe judge him, but we can't judge him too much. It's like a bunch of slap on the wrist fucking nonsense that he was probably told to say by his superiors at Fox News. Which is like, come on, dude. Complete poor shit. So yeah, the bombshell that wasn't, because it was literally hidden from you by the deep state. Thus proving, by the way, everything Trump said about the entrenched establishment for 4 years. And there are so-called liberals out there that will not have a problem with it. Fucking sheeple. That's about all. Peace out.